Once again, and hopefully for the last time, Martin Scorsese has clarified his comments on the whole Marvel not being cinema thing that he talked about a couple of weeks ago. And honestly, after this time around, after that he's finally kind of more deeply developed his thoughts about what he means by that, it makes sense to me, and I totally get where he's coming from this perspective now. So let's go ahead and get into what he has to say here. In a write-up published in the New York Times, Scorsese properly addresses the backlash from his MCU criticisms. Throughout his op-ed, he makes several points. He maintains that for him, cinema was about revelation, aesthetic, emotional, and spiritual revelation. It was about characters, the complexity of people and their contradictory and sometimes paradoxical natures, the way that they can hurt one another and love one another and suddenly come face to face with themselves. And for him, he simply doesn't think that the Marvel movies encapsulates those criteria. He further drove his point by focusing on the film's formulaic format, something he said that the Alfred Hitchcock films were also criticized for back in the day. Things are different with modern film franchises, as they are supposedly market researched, audience tested, vetted, modified, revetted, and remodified until they're ready for consumption. Towards the end of his piece, Scorsese explains why he can't simply let people around the world enjoy franchises, like how a lot of people's initial reaction was when he admitted to not being a fan of the MCU. If you're going to tell me that it's simply a matter of supply and demand and giving the people what they want, I'm going to disagree. It's a chicken and egg issue. If people are given only one kind of thing and endlessly sold only one kind of thing, of course they're going to want more and more of that one kind of thing. He said the filmmaker also acknowledged the fact that he had just made a movie primarily going to be seen via Netflix, saying that while he's thankful for it, he doesn't know a single filmmaker who doesn't want to design films for the big screen to be projected before audiences in theaters. Which I get where he's coming from with this, where films like The Irishman, which is the film that he's referring to here, that's going to be coming out in a couple weeks here on Netflix. I get where he's coming from, because that isn't a film that's getting any sort of real big theatrical release. It's just getting a limited run, and then it's going to be going straight to Netflix. That's kind of where a lot of the movies that people like Martin Scorsese makes are ending up, are places like Netflix. And so I understand where it's coming from, because the films that they make, the films that people like Martin Scorsese make, they're made for the cinema. They're made to be experienced on the big screen. But when they're just being downgraded and put to Netflix, yeah, I can understand that you don't want to see that happen. You want to have your film in the theater for people to experience, and so I get where he's coming from here. I don't think that it's wise of him to say anything like that he has a problem with what other people enjoy, because I think that I don't think that we should ever tell other people what they can or cannot enjoy. I think that's up to the individual. So if the majority of people want to see movies like Marvel, then those are the kinds of movies that are going to be made, and that's because that people know that those are the movies that are going to make money. I do agree with him that because of this, the art of filmmaking is slowly being lost, and is being just turned into a market research, audience tested, vetted, modified, revetted, and remodified just piece of I don't know, just something that people can just consume and not really have to think about. I appreciate films that are more focused on the characters and character development, which is why I loved Joker so much, which just came out. I love that film because it was a character piece. It was about a character and that character's journey, that character's kind of, his character arc. That's what I love to see in films. And I do agree with him that most of the time with these big blockbuster movies, which are what most of the majority of people want to consume, they don't really have any of that character development. So I get where he's coming from here. Let's see here. He also did say a couple words on Joker here, which was pretty interesting. So let me see here. Let's see. After weeks of back and forth between professionals and fans alike, Scorsese clarified his initial comments by saying that comic book movies are simply a different cinema form or new art form entirely. He calls it more of like an amusement park ride type of entertainment cinema. I know the film very well, talking about the Joker. I know director Todd Phillips very well. My producer Emma Tillinger-Koskoff produced it. I thought about it a lot over the last 4 years and decided I did not have the time for it. It was personal reasons why I didn't get involved, but I know the script very well. It has a real energy, and Joaquin, you have remarkable work. So he's praising the Joker, and he likes the Joker, and that's because he considers Joker to be an actual piece of cinema because, well, for one, it's pretty similar to one of his movies that he made back in the day, so of course he's going to give it praise because of that. But just looking at Joker as its own piece of art, it is a lot more of the type of cinema that Martin Scorsese is talking about, unlike Marvel, which is definitely a lot more of just like kind of the factory produced type of content that's being put out there. And so I get where Martin Scorsese is coming from now. I understand the distinction that he's making, and I agree with his explanation of cinema now that he's more fully explained it. So, and I totally agree with him. I'm totally right there with him where I want to see more movies like Joker. I want to see more movies like The King. I want to see more movies that are, character pieces that are going back to what we love, and that's character development, and exploring morality and things like that, and not just being turned into pieces of propaganda that are full of political viewpoints that they're trying to press on their audiences. And that's kind of what a lot of cinema has started to become nowadays from Hollywood, and it's just really sad to see. It's either that or it's just crappy movies that are just nothing but CGI fests that don't really have any sort of substance to them at all. And I don't really like either approach, really. I prefer movies that are more grounded, that give me something to reflect on, something that I can mull over for a while and think about. And so I understand where he's coming from. So with that being said, let me know in the comments below what you think. What do you think about his final explanation when it comes to cinema and Marvel movies and all that type of stuff? Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you all very soon in another video. Talk to you later. Bye.